This is Jonathan Ferguson, the Keeper of Firearms and Artillery at the Royal Armouries Museum in the UK, which houses a collection of thousands of iconic weapons from throughout history. And I'm your host, Dave Jewett, and today we are back in Chris Redfield's shoes and punching boulders as we break down some of the weapons of Resident Evil 5.
I forgot how constantly intense the soundtrack is on this. Also, you shot that guy in the butt, by the way, I noticed.
It was the only target we had.
I thought it was the head with zombies. It's his backup head. Brain is actually in the butt, as it is with some people. Now, the triple load there is impressive. I don't know how he's got enough hand size to hold 3 40x46mm rounds and shove them all in a wanna. Never mind the fact that there are magically more of them in there than there should be.
One thing Chris Redfield isn't known for is having small hands. There would have been comments if we didn't include this scene of Chris Redfield punching a boulder out of the way.
Yeah, I mean, pushing them and such like, lifting them even, but punching them, I really don't think that's advisable. Those gloves are doing a lot of proverbial and actual heavy lifting there, aren't they?
We have an episode on the weapons of Resident Evil Requiem on our Patreon right now. If you're watching this the day it was uploaded, then today is also the final day of our birthday sale, where new patrons can get 50% off their first month. Be sure to like the video if you enjoy it, subscribe so you don't miss out on more, and without further ado, I'll throw it over to Jonathan.
Our old friend, the Beretta 92F in fact. It's a good model. I did play Resident Evil 5, by the way, first time around. Don't remember too much about it.
I remember collecting golden eggs.
God, I don't even remember that. But yeah, so of course the 92 has a long history with Resident Evil. That is an ordinary one, not your Samurai Edge that we've spoken about before. We have a few of these floating around, so why not have one? One of my favourites, as you know. Classic flavour, 92F or FS in this case. No external difference. Actually, this still has the nice straight dust cover on the frame, whereas your later FS and M9, if I remember correctly, has a slightly displeasing to the eye sort of angle there. Anyway.
So that one wouldn't be able to mount the laser, which is oh so important to later Resident Evil games.
Well, yeah, so you could. It would just be a bit more difficult, I imagine. So that, from memory, that's what's now an historical way to mount a laser before they had a rail on this thing. So we've shown you, I think, fairly recently, one of the railed variants, M9A4. The original flavors obviously didn't have that. That wasn't thought of yet. Actually, I just saw the Armourer's Bench. Go and check out that channel. Excellent channel run by a friend of mine. And Norman Schwarzkopf's M9 had a laser sight set of grips on it, which apparently were at some point an issue item, but they wouldn't have been put on his until later, I think Matt was saying. Anyway, an interesting historical M9/92. I think it's a nice implementation of the M9. It's looking a little large, I have to say. Like the scaling might be a little bit off. Or is it just the virtual lens effect? I'm not sure. It does look a bit chunky, but there's a ton of detail on it. All the cutouts in the back of the slide are there. I will say the visible recoil is excessive for the M9. I find the M92, not that I shoot these very often, but when I do, this is extremely flat shooting. So it's just a wonderful pistol to shoot. Looks extremely cool. Is in tons of media. You can't really go wrong with it. Yeah, it does look huge when he's got it in the kind of action movie breast position, like the very high ready. It looks absolutely enormous. He's also got an interesting, slightly interesting wrap over thumb going on there with his grip, which is which is fine. I'm not quite sure what his left thumb's doing. It just looks a little... Yeah, that's what it is. It's because it's wrapping around kind of level around the back of the grip, whereas a more natural grip will put your thumb there where this sort of cutout on the frame is. On the grip is. You'll tend to rest up there, and then your support hand fills that gap. Whereas he's kind of got it down here, and then... Yeah, it's probably not. If he was being instructed, he'd probably be told to change that grip, I dare say.
We had to show off the Samurai Edge variant as well. It's very iconic to Resident Evil, to use that word correctly.
Our favourite word. Yeah, I think last time I swapped some slides around to try and grips around to try and replicate. I'm not sure it was entirely successful, so I haven't attempted it again. And in any case, this is a sort of stainless custom version of a railed frame on this one, which I would struggle to replicate. I don't believe that's a form of railed frame Beretta have ever used. The cut of the rail and the height, even the height of that dust cover doesn't match anything from memory.
As my airsoft collection grows, I, similar to many other airsofters, will probably end up getting a Tokyo Marine Samurai.
Of course. I kind of wish I'd got one back in the day when I used to stare at them in catalogues. Haven't really got room anymore for such frivolities.
I want to get enough airsoft replicas so I can imitate your backdrop, but not launchers and machine guns.
Well, I don't know. Airsoft techs, I guess, are pretty creative people. They've come up with some interesting stuff. So the laser hawk, is it?
The Lightning Hawk.
Lightning hawk. Oh, of course, yeah. Lightning hawk, desert eagle. Desert and lightning are not really the same category of thing, are they? Mind you, neither is laser. I don't know what I was thinking there.
Well, you think it should be called open field hawk, tundra hawk.
Yeah. Oh God, you realise the comments are now going to descend into just a race to the bottom on
Yorkshire Dales hawk.
Tundra starling is what I'm going to go with. But it looks like a pretty bang-on desert eagle, despite the legally different name. But this is where I think this is where my M9 comment is vindicated. This doesn't look really any bigger than the Beretta 92 does in their hands over the shoulder. It looks about the same size. And I kind of wish I had got one now, but as I'm sure you all remember, the Desert Eagle is longer, wider, taller. It's bigger in every dimension than Beretta's finest. Mind you, I do wonder if it's a weird camera thing, because when it comes closer to the camera, virtual camera, I guess, it does look quite big and chunky. So I'm not entirely sure. Yeah, it looks suitably massive there, but then it's a different character, smaller hands. I don't know. I suppose I should point out, because I'm always complaining about it, that the hammers are modelled to the rear, as they should be. That's good. Plenty of games get that wrong. I suppose by this era, they were mostly pretty good on that.
Suitably intense recoil as well.
Yes, if I complained about the Beretta having a bit too much, this seems apt.
Common way to balance weapons like the Desert Eagle in games like this as well. Make it have massive recoil so you can't just spam the trigger with very damaging high caliber rounds.
I forgot how constantly intense the soundtrack is on this. Also, you shot that guy in the butt, by the way, I noticed.
It was the only target we had.
I thought it was the head with zombies. It's his backup head. Brain is actually in the butt. As it is with some people.
I mean, when the bad guys are just full of giant, horrible snakes,
yeah,
any shot on target is a good one.
Yeah, of course, Resident Evil has its own sort of lore, really, when it comes to zombies and adjacent creatures. And especially the non-adjacent creatures.
If you're watching this the day it was uploaded, then today is the last day of our half-price Patreon sale, and the last day you can get our limited edition birthday t-shirt. All new patrons can get their first month for half price by using the code BIRTHDAY, and you can even get 3 months free by choosing an annual subscription. This means you get access to over an entire year's worth of extended Director's Cut episodes and exclusive Patreon content for half price up until the end of February. Every piece of merch sold and every single patron goes a huge way to supporting EXP and allows us to make cool content like this. So whether you watch along on YouTube or join us over on the Patreon, I want to say thank you for being part of this journey. Thank you for all the support along the way. And now I'll get back to the video.
Oh, another old favourite. Or perhaps not. Yeah, not the world's greatest shotgun. The Armsel Striker / SWD Street Sweeper, whatever you want to call it. It's got a few different configurations over the years, and it's not a great gun in any of those guises, I don't think. It's been a while since we've looked at this thing, with its clockwork drum. Bit of the old ka-chunk going on there.
This is one of those guns that its depiction in video games is so vastly different to what it is in reality. There are a few guns where that divergence, that difference is such a rift, and the Armsel Striker, I think, is one of those.
Yep. Doesn't work particularly well. If anything, you're kind of losing some punch out of that short barrel for whichever rounds you're trying to feed through it. This looks like it doesn't have... It's a little hard to critique, as it were, because it's likely to be based on a slightly different variant to the one we've got. But I don't see the ejection rod housing.
No, I think the laser module is covering that.
Okay.
You can see it next to its massive barrel.
So, loading ejection port there. And it's really like a glorified single-action army. You can see the rod poking out there. You bang out your empty case, slot in a new round, and then crank it. One round, rinse and repeat, basically, till it's fully wound, fully loaded, well, fully emptied, and then fully loaded. And the way the whole thing shakes as you dry fire it is quite amusing. Now, this is some sort of rail thing. Yeah, I guess it's for the laser unit clamped onto the barrel. Somehow, as a sort of massively sort of action B and horror B movie inspired franchise, it does feel, the Striker Street Sweeper does feel like it works somehow. But don't try it at home, kids, is what I would say. Now this I don't remember at all, this triple-barreled nonsense here.
Really like the old bit of tape that's holding the laser on it.
Yeah, the whole thing, they've tried to be practical about how they mount the ubiquitous laser, haven't they? But sometimes it makes more sense than others. There are, of course, triple-barreled shotguns. In fact, I think there's even a side-by-side triple-barreled one out there. More commonly, perhaps, you'll see a sort of triangular barrel cluster, which makes more sense, frankly. Still not sense, but more sense. I guess in the universe of Resident Evil, a triple barrel shotgun just inherently makes more sense.
It's called the Hydra in-game, which feels apt since they're often portrayed with 3 heads until you start chopping them off.
Yeah, well, could have called it Cerberus, I guess.
Would have been a good name. But who else is going to wield it one-handed other than Wesker?
Mr. Wesker. At rest, they carry it with 2 hands, like they're a bit tired. But they have to shoot it one-handed. Can you imagine your wrist after this many shots? Frankly, even birdshot with a sawn-off side by side, as I've shot more times than is probably sensible.
Yeah.
But only like 2 or 3 times at a time. That starts to feel a little bit uncomfortable.
Yeah, akin to dust.
Yeah. You'd need some sort of brace on there. I guess these people are substantially more built, but still wouldn't be comfortable. Even Kentucky Ballistics struggles with this kind of thing after a while. And we're rolling into another favourite of mine, the MP5. As if you didn't know.
Weirdly, with the H&K nod.
What the heck? Is that the only time we've actually got H&K for an H&K firearm in a game?
No. Well, there would have been a few, especially with, things like Tarkov.
Oh, good
But
point.
considering all the other legally distinct weapons in Resident Evil, having H&K there is a bit of a shock.
Especially at this relatively late in the history of gaming era. I think, this is... H&K are not afraid to break out the legal department. So, it's a little surprising.
Shiva's not phased about that brass coming towards her face.
Well, of course, I couldn't resist just casually grabbing something. It's an A3, same as depicted in the game. It has a similar flashlight handguard on there. This is the classic Surefire with the pressure switch. No longer functions on this one, unfortunately, although it might do. Probably don't have batteries in it. The one I've grabbed has the old SCF lower on it. Sometimes I'll swap those over for these videos, but haven't here. And we do have a red, quite a basic looking red dot on there. I guess a version of the HK claw mount, but it doesn't look particularly correct for that mount. The sound's a little disappointing, I think. And at that distance, as you've demonstrated for me the sort of bloom or whatever, and the pattern of recoil. Pattern of recoil is a little weird, like very linear, slightly to the right and then down, and then, yeah, a little bit weird. This thing has a very low felt recoil. And at that distance, I'm not sure what it is, but it's extremely close. Really, that ought to be one ragged hole, as it were. They're not doing it credit, let's say.
As you upgrade it across the game, you can get a magazine that holds up to 150 rounds. The magazine model doesn't change. It's just...
Yeah.
It's just like a pocket dimension magazine with absolute ton of ammo.
Well, I saw that this one was kicking off at 110, so something was up. But yeah, that's this. Not just the sound effect, but the rate of fire. So it sounds like sort of 600 rounds per minute, and maybe something rifle caliber, actually. Even if the punch, I mean, this is just a basic earbud I'm hearing it through, but don't know. It doesn't have that, like Die Hard, done before the modern era of sound design, but still has a good MP5 sound going on. Bit of a benchmark, shall we say. And this is it's disappointing. Yeah, a little bit disappointing.
Well, because so many of the weapons are grouped together, the game technically classifies this as a machine gun, technically speaking.
Yeah.
So it uses machine gun ammo.
Oh.
There's not an actual submachine gun category.
Yeah. Do you think that's bled through into the rate and even the sound effect a bit?
Yeah, I think it may have.
Interesting. With the AK-74, which isn't a bad effort for a 74, I think, the ubiquitous laser module is, they've actually looked at where that might be mounted on the real gun and they've put it on the sight, the side rail for the sight. Even though it would make more sense, because your hand is in the way, to be on the fore end somewhere, even if it's a bit of black tape or whatever. But yeah, quite a good 74. In fact, they've even got a 74 pattern gas block on there.
So as far as the game's concerned, this and the MP5's in the same category.
And neither of them are actually machine guns. I should also say we've got, and this is not unique to this by any means, but we have moving bolts. When did this come out?
2009.
2009, yeah. I thought it was earlier than... definitely earlier than Max Payne 3, which is the one that and GTA 4 stick in my head as we've moved on to moving parts on guns. And yet, here we are with something several years earlier where that's happening. And the case ejection is actually pretty good as well, even if the cases look a bit like blank cases with very long necks, and they're too long for the rifle. But hey, you only notice that if you're staring at it. The overall impression is very good. And this thing's visibly recoiling way too much as well. The 74 with that brake, it's no fun to be near if you're not shooting it. And actually no fun if you're not wearing hearing protection, I dare say as well. But it's one of the most controllable full auto rifles just because of that great big brake. And the low recoil impulse of the cartridge as well, and the relatively... It's not a super light rifle either, so all of that combines to make controlled bursts from the shoulder very doable out to, well, arguable distances, but that's what it was designed for. It's that classic AK ethos of bursts from the shoulder on the advance. Does it really well. So most of I think all of the guns we looked at so far are very much, I'll go so far as to say 80s, 90s action fodder in one way or another. And whereas this rifle, or MG, the SIG 556, again, they're using the real name, which is interesting, or close to the real name, real company name, certainly. This is one of those sort of battlefield instances where it's a gun of the moment, where they've tried to include something that's new and interesting and cool. And this is one of SIG's, the Swiss SIG's attempt to modernize their traditional long stroke rifle family to accept AR-15 magazines and make it a bit more modular and a bit more modern. And it's not a super common gun in games. Let's be honest, it's essentially standing in here for an AR, isn't it?
Yeah, they just wanted something a little bit different.
And you might argue that in the real world, it's a stand-in for an AR as well.
So when I see this weapon, I think of Ghost Recon Advanced Warfighter 2.
Okay.
Which only came out 2 years before Resident Evil 5.
One of the only Ghost Recon games I haven't played, actually. I think the two Advanced Warfare ones are the two I haven't played. I've played all of the others.
I mean, 16-year-old Dave thought it was good. I actually quite like that there's variety in where the laser is mounted, just to sort of add a little visual diversity, extra visual diversity between the weapons. And it plays on, like you were saying with the AK, where something feasibly could be mounted.
Yeah, so it gets quite confusing with the two SIG entities.
I definitely think you're right with the muzzle flash comparing this to the AK. It might have been slightly different, or at least scaled down for the MP5, but looking back, the muzzle flash for the SIG and the AK-74 is identical.
We've got a sort of vaguely EOTech sight on this one, so they're not using the same sight on everything. And they're recognizing that by this period, you know, it's pretty standard to have some sort of optic on a weapon. But reflecting, again, 2009 versus now, none of the pistols, I don't believe, have red dots on them. Whereas if you were making a Resident Evil game now, I hear somebody is, then you would presumably put red dots on at least some of the pistols. Or perhaps have them as, I guess that's the way it's gone, is upgradable weapons that start with vanilla iron sights and get different optics as you unlock them. I'm afraid I do still think that M4 style buttstocks on things that aren't AR-15s are still heresy. And if I'm going to be super picky, I have noticed that once again we have sight protectors, and this is an MP5, but sight protectors with no front sight inside them.
Another H&K nod, the PSG-1.
Yeah.
PSG-1 riff.
Oh, riff for rifle, I guess.
Yeah.
As opposed to realistic imitation firearm. Let's not go there. Yeah, PSG-1 is a bit of a darling of the screen in its various media guises, isn't it? We've spoken about it before. Part of the G3 family, of course. Super heavy barrel on there. Nice quality optics. adjustable sniper-style buttstock, and a match adjustable target grip. Super light match trigger on there. And of course, everything is finessed for accuracy to make it a true sniper rifle in semi-auto. One of the first to achieve that. Let's do a live reticle comparison. No, I thought not. Of course, we've got a standard crosshair on the Hensoldt scope that is standard on the PSG-1, or was standard. This scope has more a video gamey tiny red dot with some pointers to show you where the red dot is, I guess, and a very rapid zoom in and out.
Always makes me think of the arcade game Silent Scope.
Yeah, no, me too. Me too. I think that's the first place I ever saw this design. The reload's a bit janky there. I failed to notice if we got an HK slap out of the MP5.
We did, don't worry. I checked for you. I would have pointed it out if we didn't. I made sure that was there.
Sometimes when things are as they should be, I just gloss over them. But I just had a panic moment. Seeing him sort of seemingly... I think he is slapping this, isn't he? But it almost looks like he's pushing it forward rather than slapping it. That did make me worry for the MP5.
All is well. No need to panic.
I guess it's not often you see a PSG-1 HK slap. It's quite hard to do because the scope is in the way. So you probably want to come over the top with the thumb. Yeah, slapping it's going to be tricky. You can just about do it, but it's not recommended.
Not risk losing a slight bit of zero from your optic.
Yes. Pimp slapping your optic is not recommended. Yeah, so on this one we have a straight magazine swap and a fairly lazy ride the charging handle cocking as well.
My God, look who made this grenade launcher.
I had no idea you'd started out as a weapons manufacturer before pivoting to
well, you know,
games journalism and YouTube content.
My career path has already been weird enough. I'm not ruling anything out at this rate.
G.Launcher as well. I guess they ran out of space in the box. The G.Launcher. It launches G's.
G.Launcher.
The gangster launcher. Actually, that reminds me, one of my colleagues has developed a sort of tick where, thanks to you, in fact, he blames you, Alex, hello, for the Glompson.
Yes.
I said, you should probably blame H3VR for that. And he went, no, I'm blaming Dave. That's he now compounds all words together. If he hears two words together, he takes the first letter of the first one and compounds it with the next one. And then complains. It's like a compulsion for him, So
this is the G.Launcher.
The G.Launcher, yeah, exactly.
Also, I don't know if any other weapon does this, but this is the only one that I can recall that states that ammo is sold separately.
Really?
Yeah, all the other weapons don't include that in the description, but
that's weird.
I think they had a word counter hit.
Maybe, yeah. I do notice we get a and happily. This is pretty much our rather vintage version of the Milcor MGL. It's pretty spot. Oh no, it isn't. Damn it! For a minute, I thought we had old Bessie here was gonna get validated, but no, we do have a Picatinny quad rail on this, and a somewhat more modern-looking optic actually. Anyway, the base gun is the same.
To point out the different rounds that it fires, that it points out in the description: explosive, flash, flame, acid, nitrogen, and electric.
Electric. Oh, I do remember some electric rounds in. The rounds are launching like rocket rounds, aren't they?
Yeah.
Very much so. There really should be that arcing trajectory grenade thing, and maybe a bit more of a bloop as well. Where's my bloop? I'm missing my bloop.
You've traded in the bloop for an extra 6-round capacity in this very visibly 6-chamber weapon.
Yeah. So we've got our lever there, and we twist it open, just like we see there. Now, the triple load there is impressive. I don't know how he's got enough hand size to hold 3 40x46mm rounds and shove them all in a wanna. Never mind the fact that there are magically more of them in there than there should be.
One thing Chris Redfield isn't known for is having small hands.
Yeah, we got a glimpse of this earlier on an enemy, a giant Predator-style backpack of ammo. So I was expecting it to show up.
Yeah, it really is large on this model. It's like he's wearing a mattress.
It is a bit, yeah. And actually, I kind of like how big it is because it implies that it's got a huge capacity. Not infinity capacity, but a huge capacity. I guess maybe they've somehow layered up maybe it's double thickness because this is only 7.62. And that backpack looks like 20 mil thick. So maybe it's two stacks of... Yeah, it's not entirely clear how it would feed if that were the case, but they're just trying to imply lots of rounds, aren't they? Probably goes without saying that you can't shoot this thing from the hip. We can, but yeah, as I've mentioned previously, you're only going to get a few rounds on target.
Chris Redfield has a better chance than most of the people watching. We can say that much.
He does, yeah. The aliens thing of short controlled bursts would be essential if you're going to try and use this thing effectively. Yeah, if we look at the bottom of this backpack, you see the chute kind of flapping around, and it's the same width as the actual backpack. So there's basically no way that it's double layered. The rounds are somehow this long, or they're rattling around in the chute in their belt as they come through.
Now the receiver's just in an infinity symbol. We've covered this before, mate.
Yeah, fair enough. Of course, there would be a belt running through that chute. It's not just... The rounds aren't just rattling their way magically through the chute. Or they might be in this case. I don't know. I think what makes it look especially like a mattress is the sort of ratchet strap things that that are holding the pack to the frame.
Oh no, I've been hitting me oblong.
But, you know, we can give them credit for a sort of minigun appropriate rate of fire. It has that slightly tinny sound effect that a lot of, like, the worst way to do a minigun is the, you know, M2 Browning sound effect or whatever that they often get wrong in the movies. Too slow, wrong tone and everything. The next worst for me is what a lot of games do, and I'm not quite sure where it comes from, but it's this. It's a very kind of tinny, metallic. It's almost like they're just doing the sound of the gun operating and not gunfire happening at the same time. And the true minigun sound is so awesome that you've really got to try and get that right. You know, the sort of Bert kind of. Yeah, you really need that. It makes it so much cooler. I think we've got another case of we make our guns look quite realistic, and then we go rocket launchers and flamethrowers. What are they? And we just kind of make something up. I suppose that's inevitable in terms of, you know, the developers are also consumers of media, and they know most of what they know by consuming media, and so they know a fair bit about guns. Maybe they've got airsoft and stuff as well, and airsoft is all about the guns for the most part. And even in sort of my world where we study this stuff, there are very few people who know very much about things like flamethrowers and rocket launchers and recoilless weapons. I have a sort of working knowledge. I certainly wouldn't call myself an expert in them. It's a sort of niche within a niche. The field of small arms and light weapons, the light weapons bit, there are far fewer people who either profess to know or do know about them. And I think that's why we get in games a fallback to, well, I've seen Alien. Let's do something a bit like that, mashed with some World War II footage that we've seen of maybe an M2
I was going to say the M2 Flamethrower is definitely the starting point of this one, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm being a little general in my comments there about games and how they approach stuff. This is by no means the worst offender. This is a pastiche of like the M2 and the LPO50, that kind of thing. But it is quite... It's much further away from those real weapons than, say, the AK is in the same game. It's almost like they know the audience won't care if they don't slavishly reproduce an M2. But we have sort of a nod to the tanks that contain the fuel, and a tank that contains maybe some compressed gas to project the fuel, an igniter in the projector there to actually get the fuel burning, and quite a cool flame effect for how it actually works. Maybe not that full liquid fire feel that we want. It does feel a little bit like a cloud of hot gases rather than dripping, burning liquid. The way it kind of disperses as it fires. We have a nice dangly hose on there though. They're 2009 graphics. It's pretty good. Being a museum curator, I do appreciate that is on display in a glass case.
In case of emergency, here's your RPG-7.
Actually, yeah, it's more like that, isn't it? It's less museum display and more break glass.
So to kill Wesker, or, well, not even kill him, to damage Wesker, he will always catch your RPG-7 munition, but you don't have to shoot it in his hands for it to actually do damage.
Yeah.
It's very good the way he's, like, fighting with the munition in his hand.
It's very silly, isn't it? And now, of course, me being me, I'm trying to figure out that if you did have superhuman strength and reflexes, and you didn't hit the piezo electric fuse in the nose, if you grab the body, how long would the rocket sustainer burn for? Probably a while, I guess, relative to... If you think it's meant to go something like 900 meters downrange before it explodes, I guess it's... Yeah, I guess it's there. If we set aside the fact that he's... Or if we embrace the fact that he is effectively superhuman, this may not be entirely nonsense. Shooting it to blow it up might be, though. I'm not sure that a gunshot would in any way reliably set that off. Also, they have the rocket exhaust coming out of the expelling charge assembly, the tail fin assembly. It should be coming out of nozzles on the body of the rocket, of the grenade, as it's known in Russian terminology, which we see there. The sort of very short, stumpy fin-looking things at the back, there are sealed, covered-over exhaust ports in there, and that's where and they are offset to help it spin. That's where the exhaust should be coming from, not from the rear of the tail fin, which is there to just punt it out the end with a propellant charge, and then about 13, 15 meters downrange, your rocket motor kicks in out of those ports. So it's quite well modeled as an asset, but it's exhausting from the wrong hole. Another all-time quote of mine, I think.
This Resident Evil 5 might be the first time we see a team reload with a potentially crew-served weapon.
That's a very good spot, yeah.
Maybe a milsim did it before, maybe, but surely not to this fidelity.
I can't think of any. Well, it would have to be one of the early armors, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's a good chance it's the first. And absolutely not the franchise you would expect it from either. Yeah, so we don't... It's very unconventional. Normally you do it on the shoulder, but you could do it the way they're doing it there. He does sort of twist it as it goes in, but that's arguably just locating screw pin on the round. He's not kind of screwing it in as we often would see from a first-person view. Again, Resident Evil is one of those contradiction franchises where it's completely bonkers, but it has a load of detail. And I guess the same is true of Metal Gear.
Yeah.
Loads of really like weapon nerd details, even if we sort of don't care about the bigger picture of realism.
I think it's a very Japanese thing to do because that's very common in anime as well.
Yeah. Definitely. I think because of that cultural focus on weapons, not ownership of, but like media consumption of it. There's tons of attention to detail. And it's not just weapons, obviously. Aircraft vehicles, uniform, I'm sure, as well, to some extent. But there's a particular fascination, I think, for things you can't have.
There would have been comments if we didn't include this scene of Chris Redfield punching a boulder out of the way.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen some strongmen competitions where they do some astonishing feats of strength with large rock things, pushing them and such like, lifting them even. But punching them, I really don't think that's advisable. Those gloves are doing a lot of proverbial and actual heavy lifting there, aren't they?
I recall watching a video a long time ago that was saying like what force would be necessary to get that boulder out of the way, and how strong. Can you extrapolate how strong Chris Redfield actually is based on his ability to do that? And the video just ended with, he would have died from all the noxious fumes in the volcano before that anyway, so it doesn't really matter.
Oh, boo.
Like, yeah, well, limited amount of logic needs to be applied to Resident Evil. And I'm saying that as a bunch of people that have just been talking about the realism of the weapons.
Maybe that's one for the XKCD kind of science channel to cover after we saw the machine gun jetpack the other day.
That was great. I loved that. That was such a great piece of work.
I did kind of want to see the aftermath of the giant platform of modelled as M1 carbines, weren't they? But crashing back down to Earth once they ran out of steam.
If the Patreon gets big enough, maybe we'll make a gun jetpack. Might have to do that overseas.
I don't think we can promise that, Dave.
I'll promise I'm not wearing
it. Or being anywhere near it. Right, what do we want for the thumbnail? Because it sure as hell isn't the guns.
Thank you all for watching. Let us know in the comment section below what other games, movies, TV shows, or beyond you would like to see on the show in the future. As always, I want to give a massive shout out to our absolutely wonderful patrons, without whom we simply couldn't make cool content like this. Links to support Jonathan and the Royal Armouries will also be in the description below, so be sure to check those out as well. Like the video if you enjoyed, subscribe so you don't miss out on next week's episode, and until then, I will see you very soon.